ജസ്റ്റ് ചെറിയ 2 ലൈൻ. സഹനാവവതു സഹനൗ ഭുനക്തു സഹ വീര്യം കരവാവഹൈ തേജസ്വിനാവതീതമസ്തു മാ വിദ്വിഷാവഹൈ. ഓം ശാന്തി ശാന്തി ശാന്തി. ഓം ഹ്രീം ശ്രീ ഗുരുഭ്യോ നമഃ. ഓം ഹ്രീം ശ്രീ ഗുരുഭ്യോ നമഃ. ഓം ഹ്രീം ശ്രീ ഗുരുഭ്യോ നമഃ. Yeah, we are on the banks of Pamba, so you can sit for some time.
Last ഈ പോഡ്കാസ്റ്റ് നമ്മുടെ ഫുൾഫിൽമെൻറ്റ് പോഡ്കാസ്റ്റാണ് പേര്. അപ്പം അണ്ണൻ, where do you feel like you want to start? Oh, Malayalam.
Oh my God, dude. I told you last time, you're not doing a Malayalam podcast.
I was like, you know what, let's make our lives difficult. Let's go.
But you talk in English only, no?
No,
Yeah, he talks in English.
but for whatever reason, sometimes I go into default settings. Okay, so this podcast is called Fulfilment Podcast. Basically, it's a chance for all of us to seek fulfillment, to find ways. So if I was to ask you what that word means to you, Anna, where would you want to start with that word?
Fulfillment. So every creature which comes on this earth have a purpose. Even a rose or a lotus, everything serves its purpose. But if you see in human, mostly we try to follow somebody or something or some society ideals, and hardly we actually express ourselves. We rather cover up with something, or we try to attain somebody else's dream, or we try to live somebody else's life.
Right.
So living somebody else's life and coming to our life, so for that you have a connection with yourself, so that you can express the self better than some costume which the society has given to you.
Right.
So when you are close to yourself, you can express well, then you can understand your purpose, then you can serve better, so your productivity will be more, so you will be more happy, like being fulfilled. It's like the Maslow's hierarchy, where 4 of them are like the deficit needs. If you are suffering from any of the biological needs or safety needs or esteem needs, you won't be able to go for your actualization needs.
Right.
So once you fulfill those parts, then you will look for what actually is my purpose. So when you reach to that level, then that self-actualization happens, and you can express yourself better. So that's what I feel. And you will be in the right path. Like it's like you're walking your path. It will be more unique, and things will just fall down. You don't have to just go behind something and desire for something or something. But these things will just fall in your path, and you'll just have I won't say it's a convenient or comfortable path. There will be obviously so much learning happening, but then you'll be so close to yourself and to your heart. Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay, now I need to bring the podcast back to the ground. We didn't introduce the guest.
Yes. Yes. Great point. Yes.
So, namaskaram everyone. So today I have my dear friend Liyakath with me.
Yeah.
So before we go into who Liyakath is, I would like to give the audience a bit of context on how I met Liyakath. So we met first in Qatar. It was while volunteering for a film festival. Yeah, so that's how me and Liyakath became friends.
What's the film festival's name?
It's called Ajiyal Film Festival.
Okay.
They still send us mail whether we want to volunteer. I'm sure you might be getting the mail.
Yeah.
I volunteered once more when I went back. So yeah, so me and I think me and Liyakath, I developed a bond with Liyakath at that time. I don't know about Liyakath, I can't say. Okay, that's how it is. Debatable. Yeah. But it's not the film festival that I have in mind when I think about Liyakath. When I think about Liyakath, on this path of spiritual journey, there is someone who sets the first spark, right, for you to start it.
Yes.
And I think for me personally, Liyakath is that person who set that spark for me. Because I remember one time, I don't know which place
Bangalore.
not Bangalore.
Oh,
No, in
in
Qatar.
Qatar.
In Qatar only. When I went to meet him, at that time I thought I was very fulfilled with my life. I was with my parents, and Liyakath asked me this question: don't you feel like traveling alone? Don't you feel like exploring places? And I'm like, no, I'm very satisfied with myself. I always go with my parents. I'm very happy.
Right.
But he kept on questioning, are you sure? And on that day I left, there was this question within me. No, maybe, but it's just simple. Maybe he likes that, but I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
But I think from then, something deep within me might have changed that day, and that seeking must have started. So Liyakath is that person who set that spark. So that is the context for the guys. And now Liyakath is a yoga teacher.
Yeah, I teach yoga. Yeah,
And who is trained under the great master Sriyam, if I'm
definitely.
yeah. So in today's podcast, this is my intention that as a seeker, I love listening to the gurus. I love the talks that they give. But for me personally, I like to listen to the stories of seekers and their path who follow the great masters, because I think it is very enriching for me personally. And I think Liyakath is such a person whose life journey and story can inspire or set the spark in someone else's mind to start their own journey. So that is why when I told my friend Omboy that I think Liyakath is a person who seems very fulfilled and might be the ideal candidate for our second episode. And over to you, Omboy. Any thoughts you would like to add before I give it to Liyakath?
I think, without further delay, we'll give it to Anna to share his story. And how
We
he
want it
started.
from the childhood.
Yes.
You.
The day you were born. From that day.
See, for me, more than the spiritual journey, it's about before what happened.
Correct.
Which says before the struggles, and
Yes.
even after the journey, the struggles. Being with the
Yes.
master doesn't necessarily mean it's an easy journey. The struggles that happen.
Yes.
Because everyone talks about bliss, happiness, but still there are a lot of things that is going within. So we might not be able to put it entirely into words, but
as best as we
best.
can. Yes.
So as you were mentioning about the solo traveling and journey and things like that, so I'll just start from the middle, and we'll go to the previous part and the past and the future. So the journey is everywhere, when you are close to your family, and there are many things you will be attached to, and there are many things you identify yourself with. So when you are in a comfortable place, when you are in your hometown with your family in your house, so the things will be okay, this is me, one who wakes up in such a room, in such a bed, using such. There is a routine things which are happening. There is a routine way you will be traveling. There will be everything is very used to, and these things define what you are as a person. You never able to distinguish you as a person apart from these things. You attach to all these things, and okay, I am this so and so. So there is a so and so. I did this degree, I studied there, I go there, I interact with these people. So there is a so and so which is attached to you. So when you travel to a place, that to a solo traveling, when you travel alone to a distant place where hardly you can converse with them, the language is different, the clothing is different, the food is different, the way they interact is different, they hardly recognize you, and you can just go without knowing what you are. So that gives you an idea what you are actually, apart from all these connections what you had back home. So you are getting identifying this self. What is this? Is it just that attachments you had back home, which is this, or there is something beyond? So this realization can happen only when you travel alone, that to a unknown place where you are least comfortable with. So that is why I was mentioning about traveling alone and going about. So these are the travelings which actually made me realize what a life of a sheep you were living before. So it was nothing related to you, the society have given you a path and you are just blindly following it and thinking like, and they have set goals, okay, you attain these things and they will give you some reward, okay, now, and they will give you a false position, okay, now you have attained so many, so and so, and you feel, okay, you should be feeling content with that, you should be feeling happy with that. It's not like, okay, whether I need those or whether I have actually looked for that or desired for that. These are like, okay, this family have set or the society have set and you achieved it and you should be feeling happy with it. So till that traveling things, that identifying the self and going beyond your comfort levels, till then I was also a sheep. So when you go back to my home, like you born in a Muslim family, so you are bound to do certain things. And you will be going to the namaz, you will be doing all the rituals and things. But one particular thing which I could connect was that whether I was doing it like the Islamic way or any other activity, I have put my soul into it. Like it's not for the sake of doing it, I have done those things. So when they said Islam, I was going a bit deep inside and trying to learn what it actually is. Why I am doing such and such rituals? What is the requirement of it? What am I gaining out of it? How can I connect with that God Almighty or the Allah? So I was trying to learn things deeply and trying to understand Islam much better. Still, like when I was a kid, like there is a saying like in Islam, like if you don't believe in Islam, you won't get into the heaven. So, and that time I was so proud of being an Muslim, like, and I often feel, oh, what other, I feel pity, like, why these people are doing this idol worship, and I was so proud, and like, and I feel, okay, Islam is the best one, and it was in a way I'm hating the others. But the other funny part is like most of my friends were non-Muslim, like they were Hindus and Christians and all. And in Islam they say like if you are only Muslims will go to heaven, then I often think like only Muslims will go heaven, then my friends, they won't be there in the heaven. They are mostly Hindus. So in that young age I used to feel like
feel lonely.
I'll feel lonely in heaven.
Then I would think like, how can heaven be a heaven if my friends are not there, my close friends are not there, then how can it be a heaven?
That's a good.
So that kind of question, it could, like Islam couldn't answer me those things. So I kept searching, and surprisingly my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, he was into little bit of shlokas and little bit of Bhagavath Gita kind of, and like he often.
But he identified as like Muslim.
Yeah.
But yet, okay.
He don't practice it much, but then he get into all these shlokas and all. Often he just unknowingly he just recite some couplets from different fields. Then I often pick it up. Then I also try to say those things, and those Sanskrit thing was there somewhere back in my background. Even I was quite adamant about Malayalam, learning Malayalam. I was so good at that, and I felt so against English.
Okay.
I felt no, and people will say no, like that Madra Bhasha, that native mother tongue. I was so quite like I was feeling so attached to it, and I was so keen on learning Malayalam, and that also gave me a little bit of insight into Sanskrit, because there is a connection, like almost 50% you can associate with a Sanskrit. So that thing was also there. So I often go to other language, other religion, and try to see like whether I can get the answers in those scriptures or somewhere. So that search was there, but not in a great way. But parallelly, I was following that sheep. So somebody is there with showing. So everyone want to write an entrance exam, then you will go to medical or engineering. That time I was not sure should I go to medical entrance or should I write engineering. So I wrote both. So I got decent rank in both, and I picked up this medical stream. Then I became a veterinary doctor. So the initial step was like during the +1, +2 stage. So that time I was learning Islam to a deeper level, and I found out it actually works. like they have given like deep understanding on how to pray, what to pray, and how you can reach to your whatever you wish for, how you can attain those through prayers and these things. I have experienced it through myself. During the plus 2 period and all, I go to the mosque every 5 times. I do the namaz. Generally people do this ritualistically and they just run after the prayer, but I often sit there. Even if it is like early morning prayer or late night prayer, I'll be there, I'll sit there. So I do it very religiously with utmost shraddha, utmost concentration. So, and the prayer will be done with so much involved in that. So I often visualize and I actually do it as per how that it been said in Islam. So Islam actually works. But the questions was not, like many of my questions were not answered. Maybe a good enough Muslim who can give me answers was not there. I don't believe in all this mosque people or whoever, the mullah or those people, like to give me answers. And they won't be that good with these scriptures and all. Mostly with the rituals they are good at. So I couldn't get the answers there, but it actually worked. The belief thing actually worked. But as I moved to further, like after veterinary, that time my target or my motive was to make money. So I felt like, okay, being a veterinary doctor, it won't be that lucrative. So I was looking for something more lucrative jobs and things like that. And I found out if you're staying in India, the best thing will be doing a master's from an IIM. Then my all concentration was like, goal was to crack CAT and get into an IIM. And as it happened, the very first time itself it was cracked and I got into an IIM.
Which one was it?
IIM Raipur. So, and
for the people who don't know, for the people who don't know, what's IIM?
Indian Institute of Management. It's like the management part for the IITs. Like IITs are for technology, Indian Institute of Technology. These are like management institutes in India, which I consider like the top institutes
Harvard and Oxford
of India.
Right.
So I cracked that. Till I go there, I never knew what I'm going to study there. For me, it's like, okay, once you finish it, you will get high-paying jobs, and that was the only motive for me to get into it. But before itself, I was quite happy with this veterinary thing and treatment side. I was so content with that outcome, not with the money-wise, but the other part, like the satisfaction and all were more when you were practicing the veterinary science. And after MBA, I got chance to, and it was not happening by chance. It was all destined to happen. Otherwise, how would I know? Like, okay, there is a whole lot of world outside, and what you are doing is the best thing. So, to make me realize that I had to go through these steps, and I did the MBA thing after that, job thing. So, working in different cities in India, traveling all across India, even going beyond, like going outside to abroad, where we met in Qatar and Dubai. And so this all happened in a sequence to realize, okay, where you have to come back and your actual self, because all this was happening because I was following a sheep life. So, and there is targets to reach. Like in this age you have to get this, and then from that age you will have to do that, and when you are in a certain age group, you have to make certain amount of money. And so these are all somebody have decided, and I was just trying to going behind those and attaining those things. But I often think like this is not the thing I actually wanted to do.
Was there someone who set that spark, or was it within you?
That was like I would say in 2012, soon after the MBA thing, when I started working in Bangalore, I started to see the spiritual side as well, little bit. How it was like one of my colleagues, they were going to Thiruvanna. It was like they were going a family trip, and it was on a weekend. So he inquired like whether would you like to join us, like whether I'm interested to travel to this place. And he said it will be little bit of that ritualistic and things will be there. Then I thought, okay, anyway, one trip and that too free. So I thought, okay, I'll go with them. And that was the journey, like around 5 hours journey to Thiruvanna from Bangalore. It's quite close. I went there we were there for 2 days, and I explored all this Arunachala hills, even the temple, Ramanashram. And this guy was talking about Ramana Maharshi and deep into all those books, Who Am I, and everything he said, even Gayatri Mantra, everything was there. But I was not getting connected to it. And I didn't feel any difference from like how the spiritual practice and what is actually happening in Ramanashram or any other, because it was more like a ritualistic idol worship and things like that were happening, and they were all prostrating there, and also I couldn't differentiate it from the religious practice and the spiritual practice. I thought it's all the same, and I don't know, something might have happened, I don't know. But then after that, I left that place, then I went back to my routine things, and I changed jobs, and then and when I was working in Qatar, that is the time this after 5 years.
Can I get a moment to acknowledge the washer lady? I think Omboy is also bothered by the to the audience also, sorry for the washer lady.
It's a washerman.
Yeah, washerman.
Washerman, you know. You need to be correct.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so we know it. Yeah, I just
So that's back in Qatar in 2017 exactly. So by then I have traveled in Europe as a solo backpacker for a month. So I covered like almost 11 countries in that 1 month period, and it was all planned and executed by myself. So I have that confidence, and till then I felt okay. Europe and places like that where people were more happy and more happening and things like that. But that trip entirely changed my outlook, like how things are happening. And
could you tell like what was the incidents that?
So till then I was traveling, I was living a life where there is so many limitations. Okay, you are this, you can only do this, you can only eat this, you can only pray like this, you can only study this. So there are so many limitations all around me. When I went for this trip, it was more like unleashing everything. I was going against whatever all beliefs I had, whatever I want to experience or try or anything. Even I did skydiving in that journey. It's all just happening actually. So till then I was trying to be in a comfort zone and going inside and inside, but then that was like a thing which giving me an idea like, okay, there is a whole lot of world waiting you outside, and just come out of that and explore this. So that exploring thing happened then. So that was such a wonderful feeling. When I came back from that trip, I started writing about it, and still I have that blog thing, because I felt people should know and people should travel. That too, they should go solo trips often and see, like, because when you travel together, when the whole journey you will be traveling, talking to each other, you hardly get to talk to anybody else in that path, or nobody will be coming and talking to you. If you go alone, you will be forced to talk to a person. People will come and talk to you, and you will be getting into, and in that journey I was living with the local people over there. It was through couchsurfing. There's a travel app, and I even mentioned you that time. And getting into that app and getting accommodation, they will take you around, they will show you where the local people live, how they live, what they eat, and you get the feel of actually you will be living in those places just like that local person, how they do it, rather than just going to a tourist place, see some touristy things and just coming back. So you won't get actual feel of that place. So only when I got to the actual feel, then I understood this is what Europe is about. So, and that was so fulfilling experience. I felt okay, I should write it about it. And I started writing about it when I was working in Qatar. That was a good time where nobody was bothering me with a lot of work. I got enough time in the office itself to write about it. So once I completed that entire journey, writing it about, and even I named it as the pilgrimage. Because
I think I've read the book.
You might have read it. So because it was such a journey, it was not like a comfort. You are not in your comforts. Like every other day you will be in the street. One day you will be in one city, next day you might be in another city. You don't know. Like once you get used to accustomed to one city, then you will be feeling comfortable to roam around. But this is every now and then you will be changing. Every now and then you will be saying bye to another person. You attach, you detach. You attach, you detach. So it was like a eventful, but tiring, and it was testing my limits in a way. Like the language, at times the currency, the language, the food. So everything was giving the people, everything was giving you a hard time. But in a way I was enjoying. I was understanding myself quite deeper and deeper and deeper. So this is something every person should go across, not just like to Europe, to any other place where you are least comfortable to. So after that trip, I wrote about the whole experience and named it as the pilgrimage. And then I was in a way quite good with English, I would say, writing that article and things like that. Then it was like, then one of my friend was mentioning about, he's a doctor by profession, he was working in Dubai. That time I happened to talk to him, and he was like, he's going to Rishikesh.
Okay.
So then I told, then he often calls me whenever he goes for a trip to get some traveling tips and things like that. So I was mentioning, it's a nice place, you should go there, you should go to this Ganga. And I was mentioning those things. Then he's going to attend a retreat itself. So I was asking, what is this retreat and things like that. Then he's like, he have a guru, that is Sriyam.
Okay.
Then he's going to meet him and be with him for a couple of days and spend time there. And so then I was asking him, like, you are well learned, you know, you are a doctor and you are working abroad, such a good family, society, and you still believe in human gods. I was asking this thing. So I couldn't digest that thing, like why he's going to a human god and like spending this guru thing at the... I couldn't take those things actually. I was making fun of him, and then he is like, this is like the spiritual side, he was mentioning me. And have you ever, there are many gurus in India, some are, like one is there in Thiruvanna and all, he was mentioning.
Okay.
Then I said, yeah, I've been to Thiruvanna.
Right.
Then he was like, there is one Ramana Maharshi. I said, yeah, I went there. It's more like Hindu ritual, like whatever you are practicing it, you do there, and like instead of the idol, you keep the guru's photo and you worship, or whatever his like the paduga or the foot or whatever the idol thing you'll keep. You change it and you worship that. Instead of doing bells and puja on that, arati on that, you do arati here. So what difference it makes, I asked. Then he said, like, you better read couple of books, then we'll talk about. Then he suggested me the A Search in Secret India by Paul Brendan.
I also.
Then that he sent me the soft copy. So in my office that time I could finish my work in couple of hours. Then I have all time for me. So I read that whole book in the laptop. After reading that, I felt I should go to Thiruvanna. I was like that. And that too, I was sitting in the my office in Qatar. So I was like, I should go at any cost. I should go there. Then I was thinking, like, well, how will I reach there again? And I remember the person who actually gave me the initial taste of Thiruvanna. I messaged him, but then that was like a professional connection. No, I don't have his WhatsApp or Facebook or anything. So only in my LinkedIn he was there. I suddenly messaged him like, hi, how are you and all. That too after 5 years. Then he is like, and generally who checks the LinkedIn messages, that too in 2017?
I do.
In 2017. So nowadays, yeah, you will get notifications and all. In 2017, hardly people go to the message of LinkedIn. I was not expecting an immediate reply, but within 2-3 minutes I got a reply saying, where are you and how are you and things like that. And he was mentioning, like, he was there in Thiruvanna a week back. His wife was traveling to the US. They are all shifting there, moving to US. So before that they went there, and when they were there, his wife was asking, like, do you have any connection with Liyakath? What is he saying? After all these 5 years, that was a similar time period where I got to know about this book, and I was reading that book and all. So I felt, what is this happening? So I was like mentioning, I want to go there again. Then immediately I talked to my boss, and he gave me leave for 10 days. And then and things were just happening. Like, I got the ticket immediately. I was traveling to back home, and so many obstacles came on the way. Still I made to reach to Thiruvanna, and I spent a day there. I came back. Nothing big happened. but nothing visible happened. I don't say nothing happened, but nothing visible, nothing I can appreciate
Nothing
happened.
happened.
Nothing
It's
happened.
powerful.
So it's like, and I was keeping an open mind, like whatever, I just observing and feeling it, the energies. I don't know. That time I don't say energy also because I never had that connection also in that level. But it was a nice visit. I came back. Immediately after that, I traveled to Varanasi as well. And that place also I got to travel to. I went with one of my friends.
I have a doubt. In Varanasi, did you actually swim the river?
That
I
was in
remember.
my second or third
Okay.
journey, yeah, when I was there in the, yeah. So that time I swam across. Because when I went this time, I couldn't swim and I was not feeling to get into the water and all. And I was traveling across and one of the places was Trailanga Swami temple and all.
You went.
So I went inside that very first trip. And some emotions were happening.
Can you give an audience who Trailanga Swami is, if I don't mind?
Trailanga Swami is like Ramakrishna told, like Trailanga Swami is like the walking Shiva of Varanasi. So he's like a great saint. He lived for centuries and so many mystic stories were associated with him during the British period and all. And he's a great saint, that much I know. But when I went to his tomb and when I did a little bit of meditation there, that time I hardly know what is meditation. But I just tried to sit there and try to concentrate because, and surprisingly there was hardly anybody there inside that tomb. I was all alone. And I was like, the tears were just flowing from my eyes and I was feeling so, I don't know, some weird feelings and I don't say weird, but then something different was happening, I don't know. And all my heart, here it was like all getting emptied and I was totally feeling comfort. And that time one guy, like one Muslim guy was taking me into that places and all. He was showing me the road and all. Then when I told him, my name is Liyakath and when I want to get into Trailanga Swami, that ashram, he was liking, what is there for you to do there? And he took me before one mosque also. There is an Aurangzeb mosque and all. So that was also a nice feeling to be. And then I came to Trailanga Swami. He was asking, and he was waiting all the while when I was sitting inside.
Right.
Then I came back. Then I told, it's okay. Like here also everybody can go. It's nothing like a religious thing or something. But it's nice to be there in these places, enjoying this atmosphere. And then he said, okay. And he took me other places. But this was like one of the places I feel connected. That was in the same trip it happened actually. Like I went to Thiruvanna first, then back home, then to Mumbai. From there I went to Varanasi. Then again I went back to Qatar and I started working. Hardly I could complete 1 month there then. I couldn't continue. Like everything was so comfortable there and there was like money was coming, everything was happening. I could go for trips every now and then and everything was fine. But somehow I couldn't stay there after a month and something was happening. I quit that job. I moved to Bangalore. My friends were running starting a business kind of. It's like a startup. I joined that. Even that was the time. In the next coming, like in 2018 February during the Shivratri, I got to meet Sriyam in Madanapalli. So that I was expecting something to happen, but then it was like a normal trip. I went there. I was there in his vicinity, being there and observing him talking, and I thought this will be a fraud. So it's like a human god, no? So I felt like it can be another fraud thing, and I was always like a suspicious. I was looking at him with a suspicious eyes, like something I can get revealed out of him, and trying to understand him better. And I didn't take him for granted like a guru or anything. Yeah, I did pranams and all. I came back. Then and soon after I met him again during a book release in Bangalore. That time also I got a close interaction with him. But then also it was like I didn't take say like a guru or anybody. But then yeah, I felt there is something there, but I don't know what it is. But then there also in Bangalore also I couldn't. Almost 7-8 months I worked. Then I felt like this is not that was not the thing I have to do. I felt I should travel for some time. then I started, like, I thought, where will I travel? So I thought, okay, I'll go to the Himalayas. Everybody going the Himalayas, and many of the books, such books are. And that time I have already finished reading Sri M's autobiography.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a connection.
But still, you felt like he's not a guru, and
No. I was testing only.
okay.
That was like a testing phase. And if that is the thing, I would have gone, taken Diksha and things
Right.
like that. No, I didn't take. I didn't feel like. And I never believed in all these things. Moreover, I'm from a different background. But that connection was there because he was like from a Muslim family, and he's getting into all this. So that thing was about. Otherwise, I didn't take it for granted, or I didn't consider him as like guru or anything. But then I felt I should travel. So I felt now I don't have a job. I can travel anywhere and come back. After that, I'll look for a job. Then I'll do that. So where will I travel? I thought. Then I thought I'll go to Himalaya. So I thought like Himalaya start from like that Bhutan side till Pakistan, that side. So the places I can travel is most of the India and Nepal and Bhutan. So what I thought is like I start from Bhutan. I'll finish 1 month in Bhutan, 1 month in Nepal, and 1 month in Uttarakhand. That was my initial thing. And I started the journey from Bangalore, where I just took one ticket for Kolkata.
okay.
Before that, I have traveled almost all parts of India, even to Northeast and all, even to Kolkata. I have been many times. That is one of city I always feel like connected to, and I like to visit also. So I felt okay, I will go to this Belur Mutt and things like that. I want to see whether these things actually there are all this like bookish thing, like they can just write lot of flowery things about all this. Can I experience all this? So one thing I kept in mind, wherever I travel, let me imbibe those energies in that place and see how it is, what changes it brings on me and all. So I went to Kolkata. Then from Kolkata, I spent almost 3-4 days there. I went and initially one funny thing was like I had some saffron clothes.
Oh,
Okay.
is it?
Yeah. So I thought like in the whole journey I'll just wear only this one dhoti and one shawl.
Okay.
Yeah, and more like Shankara, because that is one person. More than Sriyam, I was more connected to Shankaracharya. I don't know. I like his the literature works and all. And the very first thing which came to me was Bhaja Govindam. So Bhaja Govindam was like every other sentence in that concept in that I could relate to it. I felt this is the truth. Nowhere else I have to go. This is the truth, and it's like the hard truth. And I was like, I found out something like that eureka, like that kind of experience I had, and I was like sending the Malayalam translation even to my mom. She was going crazy, like this guy, what happened to him, like, and nobody can accept those hard truth.
Right.
No, if you say some nice lies, people can take it. They cannot take like hard
What
truth.
was the hard truth
Like that Bhaja Govindam.
for people who do not know?
Bhaja that is like Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate Samprapte Sannihite Kale Nahi Rakshati Dukradin Karane. So it's like nothing will help you except just chanting the name of Govinda. Because none other the Vyagaran, the grammar or science or anything won't help you, but except chanting. So he doesn't mean that you always sit and chant Govinda or Govinda, but if you put that thing into your every action, like if you do it like a thing for the God, like every action of yours, when you get attached to that, in a way he's saying like be conscious of everything, be aware of things. Every minute when you, because only thing what we have is this present. So most of the time we'll either be in the past or in the future. So being in this moment, being in the present, that is the crux of Bhaja Govinda. So it took some time for me to understand, but the hard truth about the life, he's saying, Nari stana bhara nabhidesham drishtva maga mohavesham edan sadi. I forgot that. But that means like you are getting tempted with seeing the private parts of ladies and going with that. It's all just a matter of like flesh and blood and what more you are getting attracted to. And those things he was mentioning. Nalini dalagada jalamati taralam tadvajivita matishaya chapalam vidhi vyadhya bhimanagrastam lokam shokahatam cha samastam. Your life is just like a drop which is falling onto that that colocasia or a banana, like the leaf of a lotus, because it can just fall away any time, and it is very prone to diseases and death and things like. What are you actually proud of whatever, like such a weak, uncertain life you have, and what you are so proud of. So such things, such hard truth he is actually revealing in that Bhaja Govindam. So that thing, so from that I was getting into different works of Shankaracharya. So that is the Sanskrit I was having some little bit of connection with. So when I started the journey from Bangalore, before that when I came home, I went to Kaladi, where his birthplace is there. So I spent some time there, meditating there. So I thought I'll start from here, this journey. So I started from Kaladi, then I went to Bangalore. From there I ticket to Kolkata. Kolkata I spent 3-4 days in Belur Mud, Kali Ghat and all. So that time I changed my clothes to saffron. Okay. I was like a sadhu, I was traveling. So with my whole attire and with this thing, whenever I got out of, my intention was I will go unnoticed in the crowd.
Right.
I'll go like the sadhu where nobody will notice you. Right. When I came with this clothes, every other person was looking at me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you are getting noticed, and I was becoming more conscious. So I felt, okay, this is not the thing for me. And that night I spent in the Kali Ghat. So Kali Ghat, the name even got where initially human sacrifices were used to do. Now animal sacrifice they do there. And even the Kolkata got its name from that Kali Ghat. So I made sure that night I'll spend there. Let me experience, if there is some energy, let me feel it there itself. So that night I spent, that time it was 2018 June time, that World Cup was happening, and I could listen to the cheering and all happening on the other side. And it was 2018, June. So that night, some roadside dwellers, they gave me some space. They were like, you had food, you had enough, you sleep here. Somebody have arranged them to give me all comfort there, and they made me comfortable. They made me sleep, let me sleep there. Then next day, early morning, I got the darshan of Amma, Kali, and then I went back. So these things were even Belur Mutt. So this journey started, I went to Bhutan. Then when I was in Bhutan, I was going behind Buddhism. So there all things are related to Buddhism. Their monasteries, their masters, their rinpoches, their Padmasambhava, Guru Padmasambhava, Tiger Nest. A lot of things are there, Timpu. So I made sure I'll go deep inside Bhutan, not just the touristy places. I went deep inside, I stayed with the locals, I was having their food. So that was entirely a different backdrop and different story altogether. And I was having a nice time there. I felt I shouldn't go, because only thing is in Bhutan you need a permit for a particular period. Then that time only you can stay there. Otherwise you have to, once you finish that, you have to get out of that. So almost I made extended, I made to 1 month. So they will give you for 1 week extension and all. Then when I got out of Bhutan, then I came to that Siliguri area of India. Then I got into Nepal. So from family, everywhere this calls, everything was coming up. But I was I told I'm on a trip, I want to write something. So then it's in Nepal I started. I spent a month in Kathmandu. So that also through couch surfing, I was staying with the local people. I was spending much of the time in Pashupatinath even. So that time I was looking for a little bit into Buddhism, Hinduism, all those practices and things like that. And from Kathmandu, after a month I moved to Pokhara. There also I got hosted, and by the end I got settled on the banks of the river Kali Gandaki. So that is the river where we get Saligrama. So there is a nice resort. I was in a way ended up looking after that resort. Oh. There is 2 caves made out of the stones of Kali Gandaki. There is a bilwa tree. There is a swimming pool. The river itself is there, and the resort kind of. So everything was so nice for me to do a little bit of practice. That time I never taken any diksha or anything. But somehow I feel, okay, I should do some exercises and start doing meditation. Somewhere it was saying from my inside. So every morning I'll go, I'll wash my hands and feet in the river. I'll go to this meditation room. I do that ground exercise. That ground exercise was there from my childhood. The childhood in the sense from plus 2 level. That is the time when the gyms were getting established in every other neighborhood. So that time it was like very basic facilities gym. So I used to go there. I work out in gym, even in Qatar or any other city. When I was there, I make sure that two things I'll make sure. I'll do a little bit of gym and swimming. So these are my things. Like swimming is like very close to my heart. So wherever I find little bit of water, I'll just make sure I'll get into that.
Okay.
I've been
We need to change the spot.
Can we get some shots of you swimming?
Yeah. So that is the main reason I thought I'll swim across the Ganga also in Varanasi. And I did that. That was in December. It was so cold. And it was like...
That was huge, man. I still can't believe he swam across it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's, you can't see the other bank.
Yeah, it's like
that
so
far.
And it's like, so, and that time I started doing little bit of ground exercise, then I'll sit for meditation. So little bit of stretching exercise and meditation. I was trying to get connected to that. I feel there is something nice I feel about it. So I keep doing it every day. And on my book, in my phone, I could read in Kindle, there was like complete works of Swami Vivekananda. So I'll read that little by little every day. Then there will be works in that resort to look after. And meanwhile, I'll write also. I feel like Kali Gandaki is making me write. The river itself is teaching me so many. I consider her as a guru. Then still, Sriyam was like, I was more skeptical about him. But I was so confirmed about Kali Gandaki because she is a guru, I felt. So I used to, that is the time I was deeply interested with Gayatri Mantra, chanting it. So whatever I catch hold of, I do it very religiously, very involved in that. So it's more, not just the doings which I was concentrating. I was more concentrating on the feel and the internal changes it brings on me. Not just doing repeated things actually, but the internal connection which I'm establishing in that thing, and whatever the changes it brings in my interaction with others. Not just like, okay, now I can meditate, but when I go out, when I interact with people, am I more aware of that situation, or am I more conscious about things and how it is happening, what others will think, and those things were already happening in my mind. So that presence of mind was improving. Whether it is improving, am I able to control my emotions? So that aspect also I was actually working on. So almost 9 months, like 7 months I stayed in that resort. So I thought, where else I'll go? Because I was there in abroad, I was there in different cities of India. After coming to that place, I felt there is nowhere else I have to go. This is my place. And that was more like my family only. Even my brother all came there to take me back.
Take you back, huh?
But I thought, no.
Tell us about that.
They came.
Tell us about that.
So he was working abroad that time. So he came down there to to see where am I actually. Is it a nice place? What is he doing? So he came and to check on me, and he was trying to convince me to get back. We'll go home. We'll do something there. But I felt I reached my destination. There is hardly anywhere else I can travel to. I don't want to go anywhere from there. So in between that stay, I traveled to India to Varanasi again. That is the time. In December 2018, I took Diksha from Sriyam. So by then I had finished reading much of his works, even Swami Vivekananda, and I was in confirmed, okay, we need a guidance to go further, to advance further in your path. So I thought, okay, and I felt convinced with Sriyam, and I went there. Maybe, I don't know, out of his grace it happened. So Varanasi I went, then I took Diksha from there. That time I swam across the river when I went to.
If I remember, there was one incident where you gave your pen to Sriam or something? Was there an incident?
That was happening in Varanasi. Because after that incident, I wrote that as a blog. Maybe you read that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that. So that was the time in the Ghat when he gave a speech. After that, he was talking to the people around him. And I was going close to him. And all I wanted was just one Dhrishti, like his eye contact to me. So he was already giving enough and more to me, but I was so more selfish, I was more greedy, I would say, to get more with that closeness and that eye contact and things like that. I was walking behind him, I was standing in front of him. Somehow that was like a period of my life, maybe I would say. And now I don't feel like that, but then that time it was more like that. And I was going there and he was showing an action for pen. Because somebody gave a book or something, and I felt he is showing that action. And I took a pen and I offered to him, and he was like asking, why? Like, kyun? So like he was asking in Hindi. Kyun? Like, he asked like that. I didn't say it, but then he took it and went.
Okay.
So that was like small trinkets of happiness which he passed on to. I don't know what happened or anything, but that was like a incident which happened, which I cherish myself. Like some moments which close to your heart. But that was like the time I went and took Diksha, and that was like a heavenly experience, being in his presence and in that being in that Varanasi area. And the event they were organizing there were a lot of cultural events, musical events, and in the backdrop of Ganga. And that time it was in like the later December, so everything was so positive and so like a wonderful feeling. Like that was like one of an event, like one of its kind, that experience which I had, so heavenly it happened. Then when I didn't go to back home, even though I came to Varanasi that time, then I came for Kumbh Mela also that year, but I went back to Nepal. I thought Nepal is my place to be and my karma bhumi kind of. But by April 2019, somehow that Nepal also pushed me out. Like it was like an event, it was somehow pushing me, no, this is not the place, now go. I was feeling, okay, now Kali Gandaki is done with her work, now you can go. So, and that separation was like a hard thing for me, like to get out of that place, and that attachment which I made with the place, with the people, with everything I made. So that is something I should learn. So how to attach and detach with no fraction, with like in fraction of time, how can I do that with this real-time experiences? So I felt, okay, Kali Gandaki is teaching me a big lesson, but in the hard way. So I was accepting it, but from Kathmandu to Delhi, I got a bus journey. It was more than 24 hours journey. Almost the whole day I was crying. I was keeping a black that chashma, that cooling glass, and I was crying. And I got into that bus in the last moment, so I got the last seat in the back, and I kept crying. I don't know why, but that was the time. Then it was in 2019. I came back. Then in India, I again traveled 3 months in Uttarakhand. So I ascended through Kumaon side, and I came down through the Gadwal side. I ascended through the Kumaon side. So in that journey, I got to stay in Advaita Ashram in Mayavati. That is the one place where Swami Vivekananda, that is, he only did all the works for that ashram, and one of his favorite place, that is Advaita Ashram in Uttarakhand, where you can.
If we can take a pause, right? I'd love to do a little flashback, just to kind of understand you a little bit deeper and just get to know you a little bit more intimately. Growing up, what were some of the struggles that you faced in your life?
Struggles? There is always struggles throughout my life. That the struggles only making you a better person. No? So
True.
From the beginning, like till the age of, like, I would say 20, 21 or 25, like that, till then I've been at home.
Right.
So struggles, like, you have to go back much before that.
Let's do it.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's
So
go for it.
till 4th standard I was studying in a government Malayalam medium school.
Right.
So from there, I wanted to study in English because everybody is going to an English medium. I felt I also should go to an English medium and study, and they took me to a English medium school by 5th. So that was sudden change. Till then, I was coming as a class first and all. When you went to the English media, I was failing in any other subject because every other subject been written in English, and only in Malayalam and maths I'll have good marks. Others I've been failing actually. Then
In the new school, you're failing in the new school. You were topper in the
Before, till
and
fourth.
then all of a sudden that changed things.
Changed. That was like a big struggle I was going through because till by 9 only, then I started to getting back to my track. Okay, like I can do well in academics.
By 9th standard.
Yeah.
Right.
Then
In that time between the 5th and 9th, how was that experience for you? Going through not getting the marks.
That was like I've been trying. I've been going for tuition and trying to make myself more getting into that studies. And because from home it is like you have to study. That thing was there in the backdrop. It's not my intention to study and all, but somehow it is making me to study.
Right.
And even the teachers were very cooperative, and for them some of the teachers were so influencing, so because of them I have studied some of the subjects and they were so helping. So I felt okay, they are giving so much to me, so I should reciprocate, I should give back something. So those aspects were there, and from home also it was like a favorable thing to study, but it was because it was more like a strict parenting. It was happening at home where hardly they will give you a chance to go out and play or anything. So anyway you are bound to study. Then I felt okay, let's study. Otherwise I would have gone to some other stream or anything or something else, but this is like it was more conducive for me to study, so I did my I don't say 100%, but I put some effort in that, and I got good grades. Like I won't say good grades, but that school, considering all those factors and all, I did a fair job, I would say.
Right.
And during 10th and even in 12th, that was again to another school, and that was also a new, like, which was against my comfort zone actually, where I have to get used to. This happens to people in their lifetime, where you get accustomed, like exposed to new atmosphere, environment. So that was actually making me more adaptable to different circumstances, I would say. Again, after 12th, where I got the veterinary thing was in Wayanad. So our batch was the first batch to shift to a new campus, that too in Wayanad. That time it was like in the top of a hill where hardly there is anything around. And your batch is the only one, and so many hardships throughout, where it trained. When I went there, I was crying every other day, like, why God, why you have put me there? And I couldn't connect to that, because 1 year I studied in Mannuthi, because that time no facilities were there in Wayanad. And changing there, and at the time I was the class representative. They elected me as the class representative, and there was additional charges. Moreover, that you can't manage yourself, and how you will manage a class.
Right.
So that was the situation. And when you went there is no other union or anything, and you were the senior batch, and the next year only other batches are coming up, and you were given the role of the party works, and even the political party thing in the college, and then you were getting into the college chairman post, and so back after back, like one after the other, there were so many things coming up, but that was actually giving me a hard time, but in a way it was shaping me to do something. And that is one reason I was interested in management thing, because I felt I could do such things better than practicing veterinary or anything.
Right.
And that is one reason I was eyeing for IAM and all, and so soon after the veterinary thing, then the next hardship, like if you are studying veterinary for almost 6 years, you don't have any touch with mathematics or anything. And what I was looking for is like IIM, and I have to crack CAT. For that you need to learn maths again. So that is again I'm going and learning that, joining a time in Kali Ghat. Later I moved to Thiruvanna. So that was like again a big challenge for me. Not just that, soon after the veterinary thing, I was placed in a corporate job in Technopark. That too, I was working for an insurance company, veterinary related only. But then that time was like morning I'll go for swimming, then I'll come, I'll do work for like 9 to 5. After that I'll go for gym, and then I'll sit and study. So weekend there will be class at in time. So that was like a challenging time.
Right.
So it's like a grueling time. Like, but I felt now when I look back.
That's very bad advertisement for the institute time.
So
I was a time, bad time, grueling time.
It was the worst time of my life. Just letting you know. Don't do it.
but when I look back, that was like a very productive time. See, like
Just saving the institution now.
Yeah.
your whole every aspect of your thing is being utilized. Actually, your work is there, your physical thing, everything is taken care of, and you have that productive time as well. Like, and after that, very first cat itself, I could able to crack it and get into this. Again, the thing, like when I went there, I felt, oh, I'll quit and go back. When I went to IIM, they just put you in pressure for no reason. Like for that, you will get accustomed to it, when you will become better in dealing pressure and all. That is the only reason they put you in like such late night classes and early morning presentations and things like that. First year was like a hard thing for me. And that too, it's like a new campus, everything is on the way. Nothing is established. And throughout my life, every institute or organization I've been, most of them are just started or they are in their baby steps where I'll be getting molding in with them actually. So it's all like a teaching, like somebody is teaching you in a good way, like with best lessons you can give. Where nothing is established, where you will be establishing many of the things. So these are all journeys. Again, I would say after that, and during that, then the marriage thing is also coming up, where I never dreamt of getting married or leading a life, a family man and all, but my family is like, they were so concerned and their whole life was behind that, and I was like their whole their whole expectations were on me, rather than, though I have a younger brother.
Before marriage or the thought of marriage, did you ever have relationships with
Yeah, that was like, okay, everybody's going through relationships, so I should also get. So during the college days also, I had girlfriends. Every year they will change.
It's like the time has come now. We've had our times. You can move on. Yeah, the exit interview.
So somehow it happens and new things comes up. So
Yeah, now the podcast got. This is what we came for.
so it was happening, but then this like more arranged thing, and my family is like, this is the girl. Then I thought, okay, when I felt in the end, like, okay, somehow you will have to end up one girl. Okay, she looks very religious and things like, okay, let it be. Then I never had any objection in that. It happened, but it continued for 3 years. But I feel I was living somebody else's dream or somebody else's life. I couldn't relate to
So
that.
you never had a connection with her.
No, I was not having a
Right.
connection with her, but then I was becoming an ideal husband in a way from the eyes of others. I was more like, it was like an acting thing. And
Why did you feel like, what was motivating you to be an ideal husband? What was the thing that was...
but that the society demands out of me.
Right, so therefore to make them happy, you were like, I'll do this.
And for them, they like, why the girl's father or their family chose me, because when they checked my background, they were seeing a guy who was going to mosque every other prayer, and he was so religious then. So
Right.
what I went outside the home or exploring outside, they were hardly
They were not
known.
aware.
So at home or in my society, in my native place, I was like a very religious, strict religious. Nobody in my age goes to a mosque during the subh, like the early morning prayer and all. I was there in the first row itself. So when that time, my all friends were these old people who comes to the mosque.
Yeah.
So they were all having a good.
They're like, he's candidate number one. Get him all.
So that is the reason they got, and they were also from a religious thing like that is Muslim. But after these things, I couldn't relate to that. I was feeling this is not the place I have to be, and it was always trying to limit me something. And I felt marriage is something where 1 + 1 should be equal to 2 or more than 2. Otherwise, if you singly can be as productive as after marriage, why should I get into that?
So that's a good. That's an interesting point. That's
So
a
always
very
I felt
interesting point, yeah.
that 1 plus 1 is always less than 2. Then I thought it's like I'm actually damaging myself or I'm deteriorating.
And in what way did you feel like it was less than 2?
It's like where I don't feel like there is a future outside, or like I feel little depressed. I feel like I should go like this. Life has become more stagnant. There is no motivation for me to achieve something, because all then I told no, there was so many hardship, but then I was quite achieving things after things. After here, I feel whenever I go home also I am a different person. They're trying to see me as something else, but I have changed a lot.
Right.
That nobody can accept. Right. Even my mom tell these days also. Now also she says, we need the old Liyakath, not this one. You are not that one.
And what do you say in response?
I would say like I feel much comfortable with this. I feel so nice in this version of mine.
Right.
But I cannot even relate that Liyakath as someone, a human being also.
Right. So
That
long
was so
away.
selfish.
Right.
So selfish, so what you say, that result oriented, that money oriented, so many things were there. When I look back, I cannot even imagine him now, but that has gone. But my parents, nobody can accept. That process was happening then, even before meeting Sriyam, that was happening somewhere. I felt like this is not the life I want to, and this is not something I was looking for, like in the future also I'm not. And whenever I go home also, I feel there is something else, because I'm acting most of the time. I can't be myself. So, and when I'm myself, they cannot accept it.
Right.
So
And
there is
how
always.
how do you respond to that now, especially as you said, even now they're not accepting of the version that you are now. How do you feel about that? How do you respond to that?
So now with that conscious thing, I try to be happy, make them happy, because hardly I can change anything, and I don't want to create any conflict now.
Right.
Now with this maturity, if I had in that time, I wouldn't have divorced also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that time I was not having this much maturity. I felt these are like a burden for me to advance. So that was like, in a way, I don't know why it was happening and all. But if I had this maturity now, and that time I have made my parents also go bad till now. Now I cannot help much, but whenever I'm with them, I try to be more, make them more happy and make that like less conflict as much as possible. Because with being conflicted with their interest and all, there is no point in going like that. So I felt okay, let it be like that, and I tried to be a bit accommodating and and though I cannot be myself in front of them, so I make sure that I don't stay there for long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Short periods of time.
Short periods of time. But whenever there is a necessity, I often travel and I be with them. Like that, it happens.
What you said just before was very interesting. You said that if you had the level of maturity now, you wouldn't have gotten a divorce.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you how would you then be in a marriage where you feel like you're acting all the time and still like? Can you explain that
So
aspect?
So
Yeah.
that rubbing was there. So
The friction
making
that
me
existed.
that friction was there before. So every time it is making me realize something is not going well.
Right.
So that friction was there. That would have actually converted me, changed my mind, and all as a human being, it would have developed.
Right.
But it would have taken a longer time, I would say, because and when I got out of it,
Right.
then the whole realization, these things happened. When I was there inside,
Right.
I was just going as a sheep.
Right.
Though that what you say, conflict was there,
Yeah.
I was not able to understand, or I was not get close to myself.
Right.
The conflict was there.
Conflict was there. It was present, but you weren't
Present.
able to address the conflict that was
Conflict.
happening inside.
Yeah. What exactly? I thought that time this is because of this relationship, the whole
Thing is happening. So you just projected
to
Outside.
outside.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
was happening within me.
Right.
That time I never had that maturity to realize, okay, these are happening within me. I have to go within myself and I have to correct here so that the outer world would change accordingly.
Right.
That
Makes
much
sense.
clarity was not there
Not
then.
there. Right.
Now when I look, even when the small frictions come, then I know, oh, things are happening, that whatever gone wrong is within me,
Right.
I have to correct it there.
Right.
So that is happening now.
Right.
So that's the path which is getting
Right.
giving me more clarity on things and experiences. And when somebody now, when I talk to someone or something happens, even when you told you are coming, I know there is that connection, that clarity, why it is happening, why. So every other incident which is happening now I can connect.
Right.
Before it was like I was in a sea where there's a lot of waves comes. I was trying to get a grip on something. I was just suffering in that sea.
And drowning.
Now, drowning. Now it's like I could feel, okay, why this wave is coming, how I should float to that, and how I should face that river. So that I can play with that actually. now.
Right.
Rather, I was in the receiving end. Now I can be little bit on the giving aspect.
Right.
So that much clarity which had come through getting more deeper into my mind and things.
Okay.
But when being in that relationship or being in that atmosphere, being in that comfort, I wouldn't have realized this fast.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm realized, but then this clarity wouldn't have happened then. Yeah.
So when you went through the divorce,
Huh.
right? How was that experience for you?
That was so harsh, hard, cruel, I would say.
Right.
That was all the worst words I can go. Not just for me, it was for the whole family. It was like a new thing for the whole family and society and everywhere. And
Right.
that the least expected from me actually, because their expectations were quite high on me.
Right.
They're like I
Being the number
lead
one
and
mosque candidate. Yeah.
that I will lead an ideal life.
Right.
So everything was going in that level. Suddenly it shattered, I would say, for not just my dreams, for my parents, everyone, even for the girl, everyone was having a hard time for that.
Right.
So, but then I don't know, it just happened, but it happened smoothly.
Okay.
There was hardly any conflict then, like
Okay.
to undergo that thing and all. Generally for a divorce it happens, a lot of
Yes. Yeah,
obstacles comes on the way, but it all happened. So in a way it was meant to happen maybe. So I don't know, now when I look back, maybe that was an experience which actually gave me a diversion or a change.
Right.
So
And while you were married, when was the point you knew, okay, this is cut, it's time to take this bold step of having a divorce?
that's like, for me then it's like whether one person is there or not hardly mattered for me.
Right.
I
You
wa-
reached that level within yourself. at that
Within
point.
myself, like I'm happy with myself. Why would I need to compliment somebody else in that?
Right.
So I felt okay. Why would I? And then I only bring struggle.
Right.
So if you are getting the both sides, then you will have a dilemma whether I should do or not. No.
Right.
When you are sure that things are not happening in the right way, but for the other's sake or for the rest of the thing, why would I stay in this?
Right. See, the reason I ask this question is, there might be a lot of people who might be living in such a marriage where they're just kind of making the society happy.
Yeah.
They might be very quite unhappy.
Huh.
What would be your advice to those people so that they become aware, okay, you know what, when is okay, you know what, it's just a marriage, I just have to work through it, this is a breaking point and I need to step out. What would you say to people
So,
who are in that position?
That is like you get to know yourself better.
Right.
That would be the crux. When you get close to yourself, when you know your body and your mind, then you will know what is it happening inside.
Right.
So it's not because of the outside world you are suffering.
Right.
The suffering is there, which is there within you.
Right.
So the correction has to be done within you.
Right.
And you cannot just right away grab your mind and just change it.
Right.
It has to happen through some friction. So friction will be there, where you will be forced to catch hold of your mind and work on it.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely that friction is happening because the world or the prakriti, the nature want you to be a better person.
Right.
Yeah. So what you are right now, where you cannot take up with people around you, that means you have to improve as a human being.
Right.
So that has to happen in your physical and in your mind level.
Right.
So for me, I feel like little bit of this yoga and meditation and your pranayama and all those things actually will help you to get hold of the mind. But the thing is, when you are in a hard time, when you are in that friction, when you are in that testing time, you cannot just do this and get to know your mind.
Right.
When you are good, when you are feeling happy, when you are nice, and when the things are all fine and good, that time you should start.
Right.
That time you should explore more deeper and deeper. And when you have a term with your mind, when you are in the hard time also, this will be where you can continue these things, where you can have a better hold of your mind and you know why is it happening and things like that.
Right. So when someone is in the crux, the
in
thing,
that
what's in the
epicenter,
in the filth, in the thing. What's
epicenter of the earthquake.
what's maybe one thing that they can do to kind of navigate through that?
Navigate through that. See, like whenever something such happens, there is always a helping hand on the other side. Most of the time you will be crying and your eyes will be blurred, that you cannot just see them around.
Yes.
So it is like you have to calm down.
Right.
That understanding is like, okay, whatever you reciprocate, okay, this is giving me a fraction. When you return with bad or with a negative intention, it doesn't give you any result. So you understand with a calm mind, look around for that thing, and there will be somebody to guide you, to lead you.
Right.
So initially you can grab hold of that hand and you can go for advance further.
Right.
But that option will be somewhere nearby. It's like you have to be more aware of your situation, in being in that present moment.
Right.
Look around and you will find that
Find a
solution.
helping hand.
Yeah, helping hand, definitely.
I know that one of the greatest fears that people have in a marriage or getting a divorce, or if that's the right thing, is the fear of being alone or fear of never finding anyone else. Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, since you've taken that bold step of divorce, have you found love again in your life, or are you kind of in a position where I don't need it, I'm happy just by myself? Where are you at since that
So,
happening?
from a nature's point of view, the mother is actually making the child advance. Like even in the evolution, this is like
Right.
from simple to complex. From a child, when you advance, like that maturity you are achieving over the period, actually you are evolving as more and more as a human being.
Sure.
So the intention or the motive of the mother earth or the nature is to make you a better human being.
Right.
If you actually require such an experience where a person from an where you have to be in a relationship, and that relationship has to mold you into a different or advance you in that level, definitely that person will come.
Sure.
Now also, even after the divorce also, I don't think like I'm not saying like I will go lead a life of like a what do you say? I'll
Brahmachari.
go.
Life. That's not the life here.
I'm not thinking in that level, or neither I have predicted, okay, this is how I'm going to live. Nothing like that. If that experience has to come, it will come.
Right.
So that relationship thing, or somebody has to come and teach me, or to mold me, to give me more friction and make me a better human being. It has to happen. I cannot say no.
Right.
Yeah, it will happen.
Right.
So that clarity will be there.
I love how every girl, as soon as I come in, friction.
So, not in that level. And the other part is like whether you actually get into that or not.
Right.
So, for example, if many people will like, okay, I need a son or a daughter where I
Right.
need my offspring.
Right.
If that is the thing, there is a different way of looking at, because everybody doesn't have to get into the same thing, like, okay, I'll also have to lead a life of that and bring an offspring like that. Because recently I had an experience of teaching in a government school.
Right.
So it's like a government vocational higher secondary school. It's like I was teaching dairy farming for +1, +2 students. So when I went there, it's like I can still contribute to the society.
Right.
I can still mold this younger generation. It need not be mine. If I have, for example, a genuine interest or a love for animals, doesn't require me to keep a dog in my room, in my bed, where I'll name it one and he will wag tail only for me. That is not a love for animals, no. If I have genuine love, I can go out in the street, there will be many animals where I can love them as my own. I don't have to keep one in my home, in my room, in my bed.
So now my question is, do you now have that desire to have your own children? Is that there? Where are you at with that for you?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so I don't feel now to have my own offspring or like a son or daughter where I can otherwise also contribute to the
Right.
society, where I can make them or help them to mold the younger generation, where I am already doing it actually.
Right.
In one way or the other, I'm actually doing that part. So I don't feel it's like necessary to have a house. I'm not saying this is for all.
Sure.
For my
For
part,
you.
yeah, I don't feel like. And I feel there is something beyond which I can contribute a level to, where I can be better, like where I can be more like, which reveals my purpose better
Right.
than to just leading a house. I'm not saying leading a whole life does require a lot of capacity and things like that. Maybe something else I need to develop in as a human being.
Right.
So that love, when I start developing within myself, or that capacity which I'm starting, if I can help it to everyone.
You can channel that to anyone.
Anyone. It's
Right.
need not be my home, my family, or my people,
Right.
or to my kids or anything.
Right.
I can give it to the whole society or anybody for that matter. Yeah. So
And
that
in
much
and
clarity.
in that process, you find that fulfillment equally.
Yeah, equally.
Right.
So that clarity is there now. Before I would be more, like my mind would be so congested or very narrow, where now I can, that is broad, I would feel like that is broad enough to accept and accommodate others also.
Right.
Yeah. So that is one point of developing you as a human being.
Right.
Yeah. Rather than just going with your five senses, where you see the other extreme, where the people like Abdul Kalam or Mother Teresa,
Right.
where they are like the better contributors, and we call them as more human beings.
Right.
So my intention now is like becoming more human.
Right.
Not just to confine to some limits and things like
Right.
where you can even accommodate other religions, other people, other diversity, because diversity is the key thing. If
Yes.
everybody is the same, what life is there?
Right.
So last time when we have a patient in our hospital where he was talking about like so many diversity, other religion, this thing. So I told there is a garden, if you see, if that garden is beautiful when there is like different varieties of flowers. No, if every other flower is rose, it won't be that beautiful. So the diversity is required. It is
Diversity is
about you accepting that diversity and you appreciate and propagate that diversity.
And Anna, if I was to say now, like, what would be your vision for the future? What is it that you want to do?
As of now, I don't actually, the thing is like I'm not that bothered about the future. So now my concentration is do the best to your capacities in the present.
Right.
Then the future will be taken care of.
Right.
So right now I'm concentrating on things where I can improve my all other aspects as a human being,
Right.
so that I can bloom much more better as a flower, like just like a flower blooming, like I can come up with all the potential, like I can unleash the potentials of myself, whatever there within me, all aspects I can utilize and improve. So that doesn't mean like that is not like future oriented, where I'm actually trying to live the present to the maximum. So where when I was like taught as like the veterinary doctor. So I thought like now I've restarted it. I'm working as a veterinary doctor, and meanwhile I'm completing my psychology MA, like in clinical psychology, masters in clinical psychology. Then I did my yoga, so I'm teaching yoga as well, and I have a little bit connection with Ayurveda, so I'm exploring that aspect of aspect as well, where I can holistically combine this Ayurveda, yoga, psychology, and even a little bit of understanding the veterinary part also. So these every aspect, even talking, writing, reading, so all, and even I'm trying to learn how to sing also.
Right.
So even, and in scriptures, if something comes up, like the recent scriptures which I'm trying to learn is like the Saundarya Lahari by
Right.
Shankaracharya.
Right.
So, and I'm trying to learn little bit of Sanskrit where I can understand, and it giving me a nice feeling for my mind as well.
Right.
Like if you recite the sloka like Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yati Bhavati Shaktah Prabhavitum Na Chedevan Devo Na Kalu Kushala Spanditumapi Adastwamaradyam Harihara Virinjadibhirapi Pranandum Stotum Va Kadhamakrita Punya Prabhavati. So this is how even the cooking aspect, making new dishes, and so these are all the different aspects of a human being. So I'm trying to explore into each and every level wherever I can get through different energy levels as well. If you by swimming you get into the water, by using pranayama you do the with the air, with the agasha, with the vayu, like different aspects, even sun salutation like the Surya Namaskara, and so yoga where you try to harvest more energy. So these are all aspects where I'm trying to explore and go deep inside, where I can utilize those parts to for the well-being of others.
Right.
So this is where I'm trying to reach to others, where I can help them to improve their way of living, their lifestyle, their perception, their quality of life, everything I'm trying to look after through. Now where I've landed is such a place. It's not like I dreamt about it.
It just
Now
happened.
it was all happening where I'm getting to connected to people where similar minded. So when you vibrate in a particular wavelength of frequency, you will get along with those wavelength, those people will come to you. It's not like you have to go search of things and go behind things to get things materialized. So when you are aligning yourself, when you are in your path, things will happen, people will come to you. It's not because of your thing. Then you are not there actually, you are not doing things. You are becoming a ladle for the Supreme to make a nice paisam. So
And then experience the paisam.
yeah, you just be there and enjoying how things are happening or how things are manifesting in front of your eyes, where you hardly have any say or act on that.
True.
But and so you don't have to take the bad or good, whatever it is. Be there and enjoy it. That's it. So that much clarity now I have. Before it was not there. So when I have that clarity, then life is like now this moment itself is so nice. Why would I look for something in the future?
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful, sir. And Anna, my question is, we talk about that version of you 4 years ago, 5 years ago, there,
Yeah.
and the version of you now. What advice would you give to that younger version of yourself?
Advice is like, start loving yourself. So that love, that only can change things. They say like darkness cannot remove darkness, only light can.
Right.
Even hate cannot remove hate, only love can.
Right.
So love is the thing which you can which can change everything. That time I was so full of hate or hatred, I couldn't even realize what is love and what is hate.
Right.
So now what I would suggest or advise, I'm not good enough to advise, but then what point I could say is like loving oneself first.
Right.
I can say I'm loving my family, my daughter or whoever that, but unless and until you love yourself, you hardly can love anybody else. If you yourself is a beggar for love, how can you give love to others? So that love should start from within.
Right.
Like loving your body, your mind and your time.
Right.
So that clear indication that you love yourself is like you keep your body fit.
Right.
You give good food for your body.
Right.
So that happens out of the love.
Right.
When you are loving yourself, I cannot just give some like random stuff to my body, like feed that body, and I don't do any exercise or anything. I don't say like you should do yoga or anything,
Right.
but keep yourself fit by any such activities, stretching and things like that. Make a good body.
Right.
Whatever you need to achieve in the future, it can only happen through you if you have a good body.
Right.
So love your body. So the love should start by loving yourself, your body, then your mind.
Right.
Then things like some reading, like the mental, which improves your mind. Those activities you do that. Like even my way of doing these shlokas and all are for that mental aspect only. And like when you travel around, so all the activities like music or instruments or any of such activities or cooking or drawing or any of such activities, if you pick up as a habit, so improve, start inculcating newer and newer habits which will improve your physical and mental activity. So through that you will get a glimpse of your inner, you will get a understanding of your body and your mind, so that you can have a better understanding yourself. Then that path will be clear.
Right.
So, and even the time, love, if you are loving yourself, you don't feel like wasting even minute of your time.
Right.
You will be valuing it so much.
Yes.
So you will value your time and you will put those time in the right direction. You invest in the right things,
Right.
rather than you wasting your time on unhealthy habits and addictions and things like that.
Right.
So every moment you will judiciously will use those moments to improve your life. So that's how you show that, okay, I love myself or I love others. Even if I'm saying I'm love my kid, for him I should live for long. No, for
Right.
me to be a help for him for long. So that has to be reflected in my mind, my body, and my thought.
Now imagine a 5-year-old child was in front of you, and the child asked the question, which is, what is love to you? What would your answer be?
What is love? It's like how beautifully the nature is making a flower to bloom so nicely, isn't it? And that flower, it is just blooming.
Right.
It's not for something, he's not expecting something out of it.
Right.
All he's doing is like just to bloom. And it is spreading that fragrance and that nectar to whoever comes and take it and go.
Right.
It's not like I'll give it to only my kid or to my this thing. No. So that is love.
Right.
It's just like there is no condition. Okay, if you give me this, I'll give you that.
Right.
There is no condition like that. It is happening, and it is by default. It's happening just like that, and for no reason it is giving to others.
Right.
So that kind of way where we feel like giving, or that like our fragrance and our nectar is in that way, like that human qualities where you become better and better, and to be helpful for others. That is like the beautiful part of love.
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful. Any questions?
I want to know a little bit more about the teacher training with Sriyam and
The yoga part.
yes.
So till I go for this TTC course, I felt yoga is not a thing for me. I do a little bit of ground exercise and meditation, and as part of this Kriya Yoga part where this Sriyam's leniency, that Nath Sampradaya is there, I was doing that. Apart from, even I was not doing it to the actual thing. But then because I was having back pain and all the comfort, like difficulties of a corporate life and life like that, like such a harsh, I was actually destroying, or I was in a way being more rude to myself. So my health was in that state. Even outside in the when you see from outside, the body was so nice, but inside it was so weak, I would say, and damaged. So till I go for TTC, I felt yoga is not a thing for me. Then when I went there, when I went through that 1 month, it was like totally changed everything. And I won't say that soon after the teacher training, that course, that back pain and all went. But after that, I was feeling so thankful for whoever who gave me or taught me those things. I practiced it to the core, and I felt so relieved, and I would feel so close to myself. So that was the experience. And one good thing happened was, like, my whole intention going for that TTC was being with Sriyam for some time, because that was COVID time, and Sriyam won't be traveling that time to anywhere. So I made sure that, okay, for the whole 1 month he will be there. So I will be there in his vicinity. That's the only intention or motivation for me to go for that. And that time I was not having a big, lucrative job or anything, but somehow the money, everything happened, and things just happened. It was nothing, I won't say it all out of my struggle or something, it happened, but it was happening, and I was going for that, it happened, and after that I practiced. And things have changed in a big way. So So that was that experience, I would say.
Anything else that you feel like we haven't asked you and you would like to share?
Yeah.
The right kind so that's yoga and Ayurveda, the connection, where it's not just a what you say, the like yoga, Ayurveda, it was there in our tradition, but we never seen them as a preventative aspect. We always think Ayurveda or all like in the treatment side.
Right.
Even people who comes to me during this working in this hospital now, in the Ayurveda hospital now, they are in their late 50s and all, like they have some ailments, they want to have a cure.
Right.
So what I want to convey and what I'm trying to convey is to the youngsters actually, one who are before 25 or 30, where they have a chance, they can have a healthy lifestyle. So like getting into a little bit of yoga. I'm not saying you have to start the hard way, doing 1 hour and all. Maybe start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, where like a small habits. Even if you see the epigenetic aspects, like where you do the same work like a machine all throughout the day, even your thought level is the same. So the same set of genes will be expressed every now and then, and same set of proteins will be made in your body. So you have this many genes and hardly a fixed number of sets of genes is expressed every day. So get into different aspects like some physical activities like yoga and some mental activities like reading and music and things like that. So different aspects, even cooking and some things you never tried before, get into that for the sake of doing it. Enjoy the process. And slowly your new genes will be expressed and your complete potential will be revealed. So for that, we are now what I'm trying to put is across through this yoga and Ayurveda and little bit of mind, lifestyle modification, diet management, So these are the aspects people have more confusion about and more clarity which is required. So initially to get into the path, to mold them to a certain level, they can pick up little bit of yoga and in once in a while, maybe once in a 6. Even for people who are doing regular sadhana and things like that, they can actually take up a Ayurveda for like once in 6 months or so, maybe a couple of days they can do some little of massages because they need that channels to be aligned and massaged and properly tuned actually. So that can happen because yoga, Ayurveda, it's all from the Patanjali itself. So it's all related. You cannot just isolate one and pick up. That's the same reason where I'm trying to integrate Ayurveda and yoga and a little bit of counseling, diet and lifestyle and getting exposed to more of the nature and things like that. So it is good to take a break, explore these aspects and don't just go, even if they're advanced sadhak also, at times what happens is like life becomes so dry because they will be so concentrating, they will be so rude to their own body where they will be just going with this practice. There is not a bit of love in that because love, then you, as you asked before, it should be the lubricating thing, then that whole dryness would go. So instead of being so harsh on your body, it's not just about the practice, but where you have to explore the outside, where you have to interact with people, where you have to experience the nature, how the universe is teaching you, what all your signs you're getting from there, the intuition, how it works, what others are actually communicating to you. So these are the incidents where you're actually getting a chance to interact with the environment around you and where you are developing yourself as a human being. It's not like otherwise. Here also you become more like a corporate or a businessman where you keep on doing your sadhana, you want to attain that. So that is also giving you a hard time. You are not actually in your path. If you are in your path, there is always that love, that lubrication is there, that life becomes more happening, more worth living for. There will be life in that life. Otherwise, it's more like a mechanical. Even the sadhana becomes more mechanical, where it becomes more dry and maybe after a point you might leave it and go. I don't know, but go along with that. In between, take a break, explore time for nature, for a trip, for a little bit of course on like a treatment or a or a wellness aspect of Ayurveda you can explore, and some little bit of lifestyle modification where you can bring on some new activities you can bring on. So those things one should take care of. That is the one, that crux where what the soul of the whole project, what I'm right now associated with, where I got meet with the people who are from these fields, and we are trying to integrate these aspects and give a holistic approach to healing. So after MBA, business, everything, I'm coming to healing aspect actually, where we are giving a holistic approach for them to heal. Not just like the external symptoms will be taken care of, but internally it has to heal. Because the mind, that there is so many like psychosomatic diseases where your mind is the major culprit for you have manifesting many diseases in your body. So that aspect where you go to the root level, to your mind level, so where you need a close association with the person, and that little bit of counseling and details you can get out of that. And through Ayurveda with least side effects and with more lifestyle management and things like how you can give wellness for the person, rather than with the other medicines where you get more of side effects and things like that. So that complete health and mind aspect we will be. Through that, if somebody can get into that spiritual way, into their path, getting to their path, to for that self-discovery it is happening, it is well and good.
Yeah. The last question is, are you fulfilled?
Definitely. Sitting on the banks of Pamba. So it's not like I was planning to come here or it's happening. It's all happening. So, and becoming that ladle for the higher power to
Paisam.
make that paisam.
Make the paisam.
Yeah, I can always drink from that, whether it is like a hard event or so that much clarity is now there. If that friction is there, yeah, it is making me to advancing me to a next level. And so that kind of life where you are not in the same level always, where you will get to climb up to the next level. So if that is there, always you are in a verge of like what you say, you will be always exposed and vulnerable, and every time there is a new experience and new things you are learning. So that itself is like so fulfilled. What else you want? What more you can ask for? So being content, happy, thankful. Yeah.
So, what is the best way to reach out to a fulfilled Liyakath to make use of your offerings? If someone wants to do the retreat, come to your hospital, which is it your Instagram? Is it your email? What is the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, my Instagram is there, email is there. But then, why would they come for it actually? Like if they feel like, okay, they need to go for a break, maybe 4-5 days away from all their identifications and things, how they can have a bit different perspective, different way of looking at things. So if that urge is there, definitely they can write to me, and it's not that business level, on that love level we can work things out actually. So yeah, and people are getting connected too actually, even without any publicity or advertisement, things are happening, and whoever has to come, I don't know how people are coming from different parts of India and all are coming up. So it's happening, so I'm so happy with that, and yeah, it will happen, I don't know. Yeah, they can write to me, yeah, I'll definitely try to help. It's not like a one-way thing where I will be teaching or they will be gaining. I'm also learning from them. So it's like a win-win situation where I'm trying and taking new experiences.
Shall we?
We'll close it.
Yeah.
How do we close? We have never decided on a closing actually.
That I'll leave to you. You can close it.
I don't know how to close. Is there something in a way you like with the chant we started?
Yeah, we'll chant.
Shall we?
We'll chant.
Yes.
Yeah, with that thankfulness, with that gratitude, we can chant. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Loka Samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta. Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta. Sukhino bhavantu.